Ever feel like you're capable of way more? Like there's this hidden power inside you just waiting to be, unleashed.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to explore today as we embrace your power with the Ashtavakra Gita.
It's an ancient Sanskrit text, it really cuts through all the noise
Yeah.
and offers like a direct path to recognizing your true potential no matter what life throws at you.
And we're not talking some vague self-help stuff. The Ashtavakra Gita is like a dialogue, a conversation between this sage, Ashtavakra,
Mm-hmm.
and King Janaka.
That's a good one.
And it's crazy how relevant it still is.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets into freedom, desire, the nature of reality, like the big stuff.
Yeah, and what's so unique is its directness. Ashtavakra, he doesn't mess around with, flowery language.
Nope.
He gives these powerful insights straight to the king and to us.
One of the things that really jumps out is this idea that you are not your body. How do you see that?
Well, the Ashtavakra Gita really emphasizes that true freedom, that embracing your power, comes from recognizing that your core self isn't like your physical form.
Right. The awareness, the consciousness that experiences your thoughts, your emotions, even your body.
Okay, I can see how that might sound a little abstract, for some people. Can you give us a more like down-to-earth example of how this idea plays out in everyday life?
Absolutely. Think about, have you ever been anxious about how you look or what others think of you?
Oh, all the time.
That anxiety, right, it comes from identifying yourself with your appearance.
Right.
But if you can detach from that, recognize that you're the awareness that experiences your body, not the body itself, then you're free from that anxiety.
Yeah.
You start to embrace your power.
So it's about shifting our perspective, seeing that there's a deeper, more essential part of us that's not bound by our physical, limits.
Exactly. It's like the ocean and its waves. The waves are like our thoughts and emotions, constantly changing, crashing.
Yeah.
But you are the vast ocean itself.
Yeah.
Always there beneath the surface.
Yeah.
I love that image. Now, the Ashtavakra Gita also talks a lot about desire.
Yeah.
What's the text take on that? Is it saying we should just give up on everything we want?
That's a great question. It's not about becoming emotionless or denying our desires. It's more about understanding how desire works in our lives and how, our relationship to it can cause suffering.
So it's not the desires themselves, but how attached we are to them.
Exactly. The Ashtavakra Gita uses this metaphor of a black snake to represent the ego, the part of us that's like, I am the doer,
Yeah.
And this ego-driven desire, it keeps us chasing things we think will make us happy,
But don't.
but ultimately leave us feeling empty. It's about recognizing that true power doesn't come from just getting what you want,
Right.
but from understanding desire itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we break free from like that cycle of chasing after desires?
This is where self-knowledge comes in. The Ashtavakra Gita, it really emphasizes understanding reality and our place in it. It suggests that the world we experience is, in a way, a projection of our own consciousness.
Whoa, that's a big one. You're saying that how we perceive things shapes our reality.
Yeah. The text uses this analogy of mistaking a rope for a snake in the dark. You see the rope, but your mind, conditioned by fear, interprets it as a snake. You feel fear, not because of the rope itself, but because of your perception. Many of our anxieties, our struggles, they come from not seeing reality clearly.
So embracing your power, it's about seeing things more clearly without the distortions of, our fears and preconceived notions.
Exactly. It's like waking up from a dream, from this illusion, and recognizing the truth.
Okay, so if we can do that, wake up from that dream, what does a truly liberated life look like, according to the Ashtavakra Gita? What's it mean to really embrace your power?
The text describes someone liberated as embodying inner peace, freedom from judgment, and this unshakable sense of equanimity, no matter what.
So they're not chasing happiness in like material things, achievements, that sort of thing.
No, their joy comes from understanding their true nature as pure consciousness, like that vast ocean we talked about.
Right.
They're free from needing to control everything. They simply are.
It's beautiful. It sounds like liberation isn't about escaping the world, but about changing how we relate to it, finding that inner power that lets us experience life with more clarity, peace, and joy.
Exactly. And the Ashtavakra Gita offers a path, a set of practices and insights to help us move towards that.
It all starts with understanding that we are not our bodies, not our thoughts, not even our emotions. We are the awareness, the consciousness that experiences it all. And in that awareness, we find our true power.
And one of the key practices that the Ashtavakra Gita emphasizes is cultivating self-awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness is like at the heart of embracing your power. Have you ever just like sat and watched your thoughts?
Oh, yeah.
It's wild, right? They can be like a whirlwind.
It's so easy to get swept away by all that chatter. Totally. The Ashtavakra Gita, it encourages us to take a step back, become the witness of those thoughts. Just observe them, without judgment or getting all wrapped up in them.
So we're not trying to like stop thinking altogether, which seems impossible, but changing how we relate to our thoughts.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not our thoughts. We're the awareness that experiences them. And that shift, it can be so empowering.
Because then we can choose
Right.
which thoughts to engage with and which to let go of.
Yes. We can start to direct our mental energy more intentionally, which helps us embrace our power to shape our reality. The Ashtavakra Gita points out that so much of our suffering comes from clinging to those thoughts, believing they're the truth.
It's like we're constantly creating these stories in our heads and then we get so caught up in the drama of it all.
Totally. And those stories, they often revolve around our desires, our fears, that sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
But the Ashtavakra Gita reminds us that those stories, they're not the ultimate truth. They're just like mental constructs.
So how do we break free from those stories that hold us back? How do we start, rewriting that narrative in a way that empowers us?
The text offers practices like meditation and self-inquiry. It's about turning inward, examining those beliefs, questioning the assumptions behind our thoughts and actions.
Sounds like a deep dive, literally peeling back the layers, uncovering who we are beneath all that mental clutter.
Yeah, it is. And as we deepen that self-awareness, we start to see through the illusions that block us from our true power.
Waking up from that dream of limitation and stepping into who we really are.
Now, this process of self-discovery, it can be a journey, and the Ashtavakra Gita acknowledges that. Life can be tough.
For sure. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. So how does the Ashtavakra Gita suggest we deal with those inevitable challenges, the ups and downs that life throws at us?
It encourages us to cultivate this quality called equanimity.
Equanimity, what does that even mean?
It's like mental calmness and composure, especially when things get rough. The Ashtavakra Gita suggests that we develop equanimity by recognizing that everything is impermanent.
Oh, so like understanding that good times and bad times, they'll both pass eventually.
Yes. The text uses this analogy of like waves in the ocean. The waves come and go, but the ocean, it's vast and unchanging. Our experiences may fluctuate, but our true nature, our consciousness, that stays constant.
That's a comforting thought. Even in the midst of challenges, there's a part of me that's like untouched by the storm.
Right. And when we connect to that deeper part of ourselves, we tap into this strength and resilience, like we can weather any storm.
That sounds like true embracing your power to me, finding that peace that can't be shaken by external circumstances.
It is. Now, this equanimity thing, it might make some people think the Ashtavakra Gita is saying be passive, just accept everything without taking action. But that's not quite right.
So how does the text see the role of action in our lives? How do we balance this equanimity with making choices, taking action in the world?
Great question. The Ashtavakra Gita suggests that true action, it comes from a place of non-attachment. It's about acting without being driven by our desires or fears, without clinging to specific outcomes.
So it's more about aligning our actions with our understanding of the present moment, not getting swept away by our thoughts and emotions.
Yes. The text highlights how, when we're attached to outcomes, our actions get clouded by desires, fears. We make impulsive decisions or try to manipulate things to get what we want, and that creates more suffering.
It's like forcing a square peg in a round hole, right?
Exactly. The Ashtavakra Gita encourages us to let go of that need for control, to trust how life unfolds naturally.
It's about surrendering to the flow, letting our actions arise organically from a place of, wisdom and clarity.
And this kind of action, it's often more effective and fulfilling because it's in sync with the natural order of things.
It's like embracing our power, not as a force to control the world, but to align ourselves with the flow of life. Now, speaking of aligning with something bigger, the Ashtavakra Gita also talks about devotion. What role does that play in this path to liberation?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. The Ashtavakra Gita's take on devotion is really special. It's not about blind faith or worshiping some external deity. It's about cultivating this deep love and surrender to the truth of our own being.
So it's about connecting with that inner spark, that divine essence within each of us.
Exactly. And this devotion can be expressed in so many ways. Through meditation, through acts of service, through simply being present to the beauty of life. It's about aligning our thoughts, words, and actions with our deepest truth.
bringing that sense of reverence and awe to every moment, recognizing the sacredness of life itself.
Now, this devotion thing, it might seem like the opposite of non-attachment, right? But the Ashtavakra Gita suggests that they actually work together.
How so?
Well, non-attachment frees us from clinging to specific outcomes, while devotion gives us a guiding light, a sense of purpose.
So it's about acting in the world with both detachment and devotion, a sense of surrender and a heart full of love.
Precisely. And that combination, it allows us to embrace our power in a way that's liberating and fulfilling. Now, one of the most radical teachings in the Ashtavakra Gita is this idea that the world we perceive is an illusion.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying that everything I see, hear, touch, taste, and smell isn't real?
It's not about denying the physical world. It's more about recognizing that our perception, how we see the world, is shaped by our thoughts, beliefs, and expectations.
So it's like we're wearing these glasses that distort our vision. We're not seeing things as they truly are, but as our minds have like programmed us to see them.
Exactly. And this can be a huge obstacle to embracing your power. If we're always operating from a distorted view of reality, we're limiting our potential.
So how do we take off those distorting glasses? How do we start seeing the world more clearly for what it really is?
The Ashtavakra Gita suggests that we can cultivate a more accurate perception through self-knowledge, meditation, and practicing non-attachment.
So quieting the mind, letting go of our preconceived notions, and opening ourselves up to a new way of seeing.
Precisely. And as we develop that clearer perception, we start to see the impermanent, ever-changing nature of all things.
We see that everything is in constant flux. Nothing is truly fixed or solid.
Yes. And that understanding can be so liberating because it frees us from clinging to things that are ultimately transient.
It's about embracing our power, not through trying to control or possess things, but through accepting the fluid, ever-changing nature of reality.
Now, building on this idea of accepting the nature of reality, the Ashtavakra Gita introduces a concept that might seem paradoxical. Liberation while still alive, or Jivan Mukti.
Okay, that one's always intrigued me. What does it mean to be liberated while still embodied?
Jivan Mukti isn't about escaping the world or becoming a recluse. It's about experiencing a profound inner freedom that transcends the limitations of the physical form, the fluctuations of the mind.
So finding peace and liberation right here, right now, amidst the challenges and joys of everyday life.
Exactly. The Jivan Mukta, the one who's liberated while alive, they're fully engaged in the world but not bound by it. They experience the full range of human emotions without being consumed by them, free from that inner turmoil that, so many of us experience.
It sounds like true enlightenment. But is that level of freedom really possible while we're still in a physical body?
The Ashtavakra Gita suggests it is, and it offers a path to cultivate this state of Jivan Mukti.
Okay, all ears. Spill the beans. What's the secret?
No secret formula, but the text emphasizes self-knowledge, meditation, and the practice of non-attachment.
So, again, it's about calming the mind, understanding our true nature, and letting go of our attachments to external things.
Exactly. And as we develop these qualities, we start experiencing a deeper sense of peace and freedom. We're not bound by the ups and downs of life anymore. We ride the waves with more equanimity.
Makes sense. It's about finding that inner stillness that can't be disturbed by the external chaos. And from that place of stillness, we can act with more clarity and wisdom.
Now, let's talk about meditation, which the Ashtavakra Gita emphasizes as a powerful tool for achieving this inner stillness. What's your experience with meditation been like?
I've tried it here and there, but I'll be honest, I struggle. My mind tends to wander. It's hard to quiet the constant chatter.
Oh yeah, that's super common. The mind's naturally active. It's always generating thoughts and stories. But the Ashtavakra Gita reminds us that true meditation isn't about forcing the mind to be still.
So it's not about trying to reach some kind of blissful, thought-free state.
Not necessarily. The text says true meditation is about cultivating non-judgmental awareness.
You mean just observing the flow of thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them?
Yes, becoming the witness of our own mental activity.
So instead of trying to stop our thoughts, we're just noticing them as they arise and pass away.
Precisely. And this witnessing, it creates space between us and our thoughts, which can be so freeing.
Because we realize, again, we're not our thoughts. We're the awareness that experiences them.
And in that awareness, we find our true power.
This reminds me of that teaching about not being our bodies, not our thoughts, not even our emotions. It all points back to that same truth, doesn't it?
You got it. It's about recognizing that we're the awareness that experiences all these things, but they don't define us. And in that recognition, we find true freedom.
Now, even when we get that we're not our thoughts, it can still be tough to deal with difficult emotions.
Absolutely. Life throws those curveballs, anger, sadness, fear, all those challenging emotions. How does the Ashtavakra Gita suggest we handle those rough seas?
It's not about suppressing them, but about recognizing them as temporary states. The Ashtavakra Gita encourages us to observe our emotions without getting swept away.
So, like dealing with thoughts, observing without judgment, and knowing they're not who we are. Exactly. When we detach from the intensity of our emotions, there's space for peace and clarity. We respond to challenges with wisdom and compassion, not just reacting impulsively.
That really connects with embracing your power, because it's about choosing how we respond to life, not feeling helpless against our emotions.
You nailed it. The Ashtavakra Gita is all about empowering us to live with more freedom and intention, even amidst the storms.
So how do we cultivate this detachment from our emotions? Sounds great, but I imagine it takes practice.
It does, and the Ashtavakra Gita offers practices like meditation, self-inquiry, and cultivating virtues like patience and compassion.
It's about creating space between us and our reactions, allowing us to respond to life with more clarity and wisdom.
And that clarity, that wisdom can be so empowering. It helps us navigate even the toughest situations with grace and resilience.
I love that. So let's dig deeper into one of those practices, meditation. It seems like a recurring theme in the Ashtavakra Gita.
Oh, for sure. Meditation is foundational. The text emphasizes that true meditation isn't about forcing the mind to be still or trying to reach a certain state of consciousness.
So it's not about emptying the mind completely.
Not really. The text suggests that real meditation is about cultivating this non-judgmental awareness, just observing those thoughts and emotions without getting all tangled up in them.
So becoming like an observer of our own mental activity.
Exactly. That creates space between us and our thoughts, which can be so freeing. It's like stepping back from that constant mental chatter and finding a deeper peace and stillness.
I get that, but for people new to meditation, the biggest hurdle is that their mind wanders. You sit down to meditate, and boom, you're thinking about your to-do list or what's for dinner.
It happens to everyone. The mind's busy by nature, right? Always creating thought stories. But the Ashtavakra Gita offers a really gentle way to deal with that. Redirection.
Redirection, what's that?
It's gently guiding our attention back to what we're focusing on. Could be our breath, a mantra, even just the feeling of our body whenever we realize our mind has wandered off.
So no need to get frustrated when we get distracted. Just notice it and bring our attention back to the present moment.
Exactly. And the more we practice that gentle redirection, the easier it becomes to come back to the now.
Like exercising a muscle, it gets stronger with use.
Right. Now, another thing people struggle with is finding the time to meditate. Life's so busy, it's hard to make space for quiet.
Oh yeah, a million things demanding our attention.
But what's great about the Ashtavakra Gita's approach is that you don't need hours in silent retreat. Even a few minutes a day can make a big difference.
So fitting in little moments of mindfulness throughout the day,
Exactly. You can meditate while walking, eating, even waiting in line at the store.
bringing that awareness to whatever we're doing.
And that mindfulness practice can really change how we experience life. We feel more grounded, centered, more connected to the present.
Like hitting pause on the mental whirlwind and just being.
The Ashtavakra Gita also talks about living in alignment with our values. How do you think that connects to embracing your power?
Well, when we live by our values, we're acting with integrity, being authentic. We're not trying to be someone we're not, or pleasing others at the cost of our own well-being.
Exactly. That alignment with our values is super empowering. It gives us a sense of purpose, a direction in life.
Like an inner compass pointing us towards choices and actions that feel true and meaningful.
The Ashtavakra Gita reminds us that we have the power to choose how we live, align with our deepest values, or get swayed by outside pressures.
It's about taking back that power to shape our own lives.
And one thing that can block us from living by our values is being stuck in the past.
It's easy to get caught in regrets, resentments, those what-if thoughts.
The Ashtavakra Gita has a powerful perspective on the past. It says the past is gone, can't change it. Holding on only creates suffering.
So, accepting what happened and choosing to focus on the now.
Right. It doesn't mean we condone harmful things or forget lessons, just that we release the emotional baggage from the past.
Freeing ourselves from that weight so we can move forward more lightly.
And when we do that, we make room for new possibilities to show up in the present.
Such a beautiful way to look at it. The Ashtavakra Gita also talks about non-judgmental awareness. We've talked about this before, but can you say more about approaching life without judgment?
It's about cultivating openness and curiosity, experiencing the world as it is without slapping our judgments on everything.
So instead of labeling things good or bad, right or wrong, we just observe with neutrality.
Exactly. And this can be tough because we're so used to judging.
Our minds are constantly evaluating, categorizing everything.
But the Ashtavakra Gita reminds us that judging creates separation, duality. We don't see the interconnectedness of everything.
So non-judgmental awareness is about going beyond that duality, embracing a more holistic view of reality.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everything and everyone has their place in the bigger picture.
It's about embracing our power, not through judgment and separation, but through understanding and connection.
Building on that, the Ashtavakra Gita also talks about gratitude.
Gratitude. I can see how that leads to a more positive way of seeing things.
It's deeper than just positive thinking. The text suggests that gratitude can actually change our whole experience of reality.
Not just appreciating good things,
Yeah.
but actually changing how we perceive the world.
Exactly. The Ashtavakra Gita says that when we have a grateful heart, we start to see the abundance and beauty around us, even when things are tough. It's like tuning our attention to the good instead of dwelling on the bad.
And that shift in perspective can make a huge difference in how we feel.
It really can. Gratitude reduces stress, improves relationships, and makes us happier overall. It's not just a nice feeling, it's a tool for transformation.
Like we're choosing to focus on the good, and that creates more good in our lives.
Now let's talk about something a little different. The Ashtavakra Gita's view on death.
Okay, that can be an uncomfortable topic, but it's a part of life we can't avoid.
True. And the Ashtavakra Gita offers a really unique and liberating perspective on it. The text reminds us that death isn't the end, just a transition from one state of being to another.
So it's challenging that common fear of death.
Exactly. The Ashtavakra Gita says when we understand our true nature as pure consciousness, we realize death isn't the end of our existence. It's about remembering that we are so much more than our physical bodies.
We're eternal, unchanging at our core.
Yes. And knowing that allows us to really live in the present moment. Appreciate life without being consumed by fear of its end.
Embracing our power, not through clinging to life, but accepting the natural cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
This brings us to a powerful passage in chapter 11. Realizing that misfortune and fortune come in their turn from fate, one is contented, one's sense is under control, and does not like or dislike.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. What jumps out at you?
It's about equanimity, that inner peace, even when things are good or bad. It's recognizing both are temporary, outside our control.
Finding peace and acceptance no matter what life throws our way.
Exactly. It's not about being passive or indifferent. It's about cultivating this deep inner strength that helps us ride the waves without losing ourselves.
It's embracing our power, not by resisting change, but by surrendering to the flow of life.
And to wrap up our deep dive into the Ashtavakra Gita, let's touch on one last essential teaching. Finding joy in the simple things.
That's a message that shows up in so many spiritual traditions.
It's a universal truth, and the Ashtavakra Gita offers a unique perspective on cultivating that simple joy. The text says that real happiness isn't found in achievements or possessions, but in realizing our true nature as pure consciousness.
So it's about finding contentment within, no matter what's happening around us.
Exactly, and that contentment allows us to appreciate the simple things, nature's beauty, the sun's warmth, connection with loved ones. It's about shifting from wanting what we lack to appreciating what we have.
Embracing our power, not through striving or accumulating, but through simply being present to the beauty and wonder of life.
As we wrap up our time with the Ashtavakra Gita, I encourage you to think about these teachings and see how they fit into your own life.
This has been an incredible journey exploring these powerful ideas, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
There's so much wisdom in this ancient text, and it's timeless, universal. These teachings are just as relevant today as they were centuries ago.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this exploration.
My pleasure.
And to everyone listening, keep embracing your power. Until next time.